What's up? My name is Zether, and this is What If Naruto Had Every Sage Mode. Enjoy.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
Okay, so before we start the story, I have to ask you guys to do something. I have to ask you to believe in the impossible. Because this what if is not only going to be goofy, but it's going to make no sense. Like, I thought about so many ways that I could make it possible to give Naruto every single Sage mode, and make it make sense, but there was no other way other than doing what I'm going to do or simply saying he has it. So I ended up going with the one that, not the one that he just has it, but a different version. So you're gonna have to open your eyes to new possibilities. We begin our story off in a different timeline. Now, not to say that this is going to be lasting too long, but pretty much to make everything simpler, there used to be a guy, you know how the Sage of Six Paths is like the master of ninja or jutsus and all that stuff, chakra pretty much. Well, long ago there was a normal human, right? Like a long time ago, right? And this guy, let's just say, he ended up literally mastering every single Sage mode there is in existence. Now, in this world, there isn't just going to be Snake Sage mode, Slug Sage mode, and Toad Sage mode. That's not going to be the extent of it. Every single animal is going to be having their own Sage mode style. Meaning, there's going to be Dragon Sage mode. There's going to be Panther Sage mode. There's going to be Panda Sage mode. Come on now. Come on now, who doesn't want Panda Sage mode? No, totally kidding though. But seriously though, there's going to be a whole ton of like random, goofy, wacky Sage modes. And I actually want you guys to help pitch in with a couple ideas of random Sage mode abilities and what each one will grant Naruto, aka the user. Now, if you guys aren't too well informed on what Sage mode is and how its function pretty much works, then you guys can go and click the video down below in the description explaining what Sage mode is and essentially how the Sage mode will work in the story. That being said, let's get started with the what if. So, like I said, long ago there was this one guy, mastered every Sage mode, he died, his soul wandered for a bit, but out of nowhere, on the day of Naruto's birth, the day of the Nine Tails attack, when Obito was pulling up with the mask and trying to kill his sensei and trying to kill Kushina, who was literally pregnant, ended up pretty much grabbing a young baby Naruto. Now this Naruto would have, as soon as he was born, he would have had a swift eye color change. Now he was born with blue eyes, but out of nowhere they would have started like switching colors to a bunch of different like shades, pretty much every color in the rainbow, before finally going back to its normal color, and a bright flash of light would come off of Naruto, causing Obito to be like, hey yo, what's wrong with this kid? You know what I mean? Like he's holding him and he just like then has to look away slightly, giving Minato enough time to save Naruto. He would then go on to fight the masked man. He would then go on to get stabbed by the Nine Tails, leaving his own son to fend for himself. And from there, what ends up happening after this point is Naruto would end up essentially having the same exact childhood that you guys remember him having in the original events. Now, everything from Hiruzen teaching Naruto the basics of manners to teaching him how to read and write would still go on like it does, and Naruto at this point would only be 4 years old. That being said, around this time is when Hiruzen is in his office thinking, you know what I mean? Like he's just sitting there, pondering to himself, I've been raising this kid Naruto for a couple years. I might as well just throw him in an apartment, give him some noodles and some rotten milk, and he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He would proceed to be like, hey Naruto, how would you like to live in your own home? Doesn't that sound nice? Naruto at this point would be like, but I'm only 4. And Hiruzen would be like, nah, you got it. Minato would have done it himself. As at this point, Naruto's like, Minato? But Hiruzen would just be like, nothing, as he would proceed to essentially just be like, all right Naruto, here's your new home. When immediately he would open the door, the house would be dirty. And Hiruzen would be like, that's your problem, Naruto. He would then proceed to leave Naruto there with a little bit of rent money and then just like cover like his food and expenses, as Naruto would then have to clean the house for about 1 entire week. Now, when Naruto was finally done with this, Naruto would then have about 3 months of peace before Danzo would come in and be like, hey, yo, I'm about to end this whole man's career. Watch me. Watch out. Watch out. He would come in and then proceed to be like, y'all, everybody, did y'all not notice that this man has literal whiskers? Because I did. I see them whiskers. And he would then proceed to tell the entire village, and then the village would hate Naruto. Now, at this point, seeing as Naruto is really young, he would proceed to start noticing some changes with the way that people look at him. A lot of people would start giving him dirty looks. A lot of kids would honestly stop playing with Naruto, and from here, about, let's say, 2 months would go by where Naruto simply slowly starts to notice that he had pretty much become an outcast. At this point, the iconic swing would become a thing, and Naruto at this point would simply watch as all of the other kids had their parents, as all of the other kids had friends, and Naruto was kind of just there. He just literally existed. Naruto at this point would be pretty sad, and he would still end up saving Hinata from those young bullies, meaning Hinata still does end up really liking Naruto. However, one more thing that ends up happening is, let's say one day when Naruto was about 4.5 years old, Naruto would be wandering around in the forest. Now, this isn't going to be the forest of death or anything, so trust me, Naruto's not about to die in the first episode, but it definitely is like a pretty cool chill forest where nothing really bad is going to happen to him, so don't really worry about that. But what would end up going on here is Naruto would be walking in the forest thinking to himself, why does everybody treat me like an outcast? Why do they think I'm so different? Why did everybody stop liking me? And from here, Naruto pondering this, he would begin just walking forward, looking down, you know, kind of having that doing like the little walk of shame, I guess you could say, as Naruto was just kind of, you know, walking away thinking, you know, what are you gonna do about it? You know what I mean? But from here, what would end up happening is Naruto would begin pretty much having some memories of the past. Now, what does that mean, you guys might be asking? Well, by memories of the past, what I'm trying to say is that Naruto would get a brutal headache. Now, this headache would be going insane. Naruto would be like, you know what I mean? Like his head starts to hurt pretty bad. And Naruto at this point would start being like, what's going on? You know what I mean? As Naruto would pretty much start like having these weird little flashes go in his head, as out of nowhere, before Naruto can even like notice or register what's going on, Naruto would be unconscious on the ground. At this point, he would wake up in his mindscape to see a gigantic fox behind a cage, and also seeing a man with blonde hair and blue eyes just like him. Naruto seeing this would be like, hey yo? And from here, the man would introduce himself as the god of all sage energy, Matohi. I don't know, man. Just make up some random name that sounds like cool. I just completely butchered the cool name that I had thought of like 20 minutes ago. I wish I would have remembered, but that's besides the point. He would pretty much end up telling Naruto that he is his reincarnation, and pretty soon more memories are going to start flooding in. He would tell Naruto that this power is going to be a great one, and that he needs to use it to change the world in a positive way. Don't go out and ruin the world with this insane power, because the power that you will soon be granted is going to be something that can either be catastrophic to the world or make the world flourish into something beautiful. At this point, he would completely fade away as Naruto would say, wait, I have so many questions. And Naruto would wake up as he would get a booming headache. Now at this point, Naruto would be like, and then he would have a vision of these hand signs over and over and over. And at this point, Naruto would literally wake up, as you know, during the time that he was passed out, a couple of hours would have gone by, and Naruto would wake up in the middle of the night, you know what I mean? So from here, Naruto's kind of scared. He wouldn't really know what to do, but from here, Naruto would just be thinking whatever, as he would be like, I think it was like this. He would perform about 7 hand signs before he would slam his hand on the ground, and suddenly, out of nowhere, Naruto would quite literally proceed to reverse summon himself to an area with a mountainous area covered in a bunch of bamboo trees, and he would see a gigantic animal, this animal would be a gigantic panda. A panda, bro. He sees a panda. Naruto at this point would pretty much look up to see this just giant white black figure. And when Naruto sees this, he's like, what's going on? Naruto would look up and this panda would be like, what? Who let a human in here? Like, hey, yo, there's a human in here. You know what I mean? This panda, if I had to give him a personality, would be more of like the jumpy to conclusions type, overthinking type panda, where he immediately jumped into action and was about to crush Naruto under his palm. But before that could even happen, this other panda, like the elder of like the place, would be like, stop. And he would do so like midway about to just crush Naruto and end this whole man's career. He was gonna put him on a t-shirt. That was gonna be the what if. That's wraps. Bye guys. Just kidding, that didn't happen. But seriously though, what would end up happening instead is the other panda would be like, yo, doesn't he look familiar? As you know, the big panda would be like, to who? And from here he would say that the blonde hair, the blue eyes, I've only seen that once before. You know where? And the panda would be like, there's no way. Look at him. The kid's barely a child. From here, they would proceed to take him to like the elder, like the oldest, wisest panda, you know what I mean? And funny enough, it would be the one that trained with Master Oogway, you know what I'm saying? The one that went Kung Fu Panda, you know. I'm totally kidding. It's obviously not that one. But seriously though, he would proceed to look at Naruto and be like, hey, yo, like this kid has like, he looks just like exactly like what the prophecy said. And then from here, Naruto would essentially get introduced to like the whole entire like colony of like the pandas. Like all of them would go over to Naruto, and Naruto would basically be asked like what he's doing here, how he got here, and Naruto would explain that all he knows is that he had some headaches, he passed out, he saw a man with blonde hair, blue eyes, and told him that he was the god of sage energy or something like that. Or Naruto would say something along those lines. And the guys would be like, there's no way. This is his reincarnation. He landed here, of all places. He landed here. You know what I mean? They all start cheering and stuff. And then they're like, we need it to tell like every other place. He is going to change the world as we know it. And from here, gigantic time skip. Literally a 10-year time skip would pretty much be present at this current moment. Naruto at this point would essentially, the next time we see him, would be in like an all white cloak with letters on the back. Naruto's hair would be like pretty much flowing in the wind. He has no headband. Naruto at this point has been living off of nothing but the energy of like the trees, and he lives off of a single tree leaf to survive. Just kidding, that's not true. Naruto can get down in the kitchen. Naruto, through having to eat nothing but plant and bark and like insects, through you know, training with a bunch of different sage creatures, would have ended up having to learn to, I guess you could say, fend for himself. But with that said, like I said, Naruto is literally 14 years old at this point, and now is like, I don't want to say this without making him sound too overpowered, but he's gonna be overpowered. At this point, Naruto has mastered every sage mode. Yep, there's no way to go around it. Naruto at this point has literally mastered every sage mode there is. And before you guys start being like, what sage mode is there, Zether? Well, this is where you guys come in. I want you guys to please go down below and comment 5 sage creatures at least. Tell me what their abilities will be and how this can incorporate into the sage mode and art style, and how Naruto's whole like thing with the village and all this is going to be going on from here on out. Now, when it comes to Naruto's personality, he's going to be a goofy person, but when he gets serious, like you don't want to see that. He's also going to be kind of mature and like wise, because he's been around these sage creatures all his life, and like way too mature for his age, but also way too dumb for his age, because of the way that like a couple sage creatures are like obviously good natured and goofy and all that, and so that would have rubbed off on Naruto. So would the seriousness of other sage mode creatures, and so Naruto's personality would just be this big old blob of randomness, you know what I mean? That being said though, Naruto's last stop of learning the last sage mode would be Dragon Sage mode, and this would be Naruto's favorite, because this one literally amplifies his skin. It like hardens it like a lot, you know what I mean? Like it makes him almost impenetrable when it comes to like raw force. It gives him like this grip strength that is just incredibly off the charts, and it also gives him the ability to literally so many Sage Art style jutsus of fire. Like it's the most OP fire like Sage modes like attacks you could ever think of. I know I'm stuttering over my words, but it's just going to be that insane. Do you guys watch Fairy Tail? No? Yes? Maybe? Do you guys know who Natsu is? Kind of similar to that. Naruto's going to be having some insane powers, but also a lot different at the same time, if that makes any sense. However, at this point, Naruto would be asked by the legendary dragon Ryuk. He would be like, "So Naruto, is it now time that you return to the human world?" Naruto would say, "I guess so. I mean, I've been gone for so long. I honestly forgot what it's like to be back at that village, but like the Mitoho, I don't know, dude. The name of the little legendary sage guy that I created. Let's call him Saejima from now on. Saejima, he'd be like, Saejima would want that." And so the dragon Ryuk would nod his head and say, "Simply put your hand on my forehead." Naruto would say, "Sure thing," and he would reverse summon himself back into the village. Now Naruto at this point would arrive right at that same spot that he had pretty much disappeared at 10 years ago. And at this point, many of you guys are like, so he disappeared 10 years ago. What happened in the village? Did anybody question it? Obviously Hiruzen would have been like, "Hey yo, the Jinchuriki, where did he go?" But the village would have been thinking, we're so much better off without Naruto. Now keep in mind, this Naruto was way taller than the one in the original. This Naruto was way, I don't want to say this by sounding too sus, but I'm gonna say it and sound sus. This man is sexy. There's no other way around it. This man is sexy. I'm wearing socks. I think that's all I need to say. Anyways though, Naruto after arriving here would have this nostalgic feeling that the Naruto had when he returned to the village after 2 years, but like times 5 because he was gone for 10 years. So he would finally arrive in front of Hiruzen, and when Naruto walks in through the door to see Hiruzen would be like, "Naruto boy?" As Naruto would walk in, Hiruzen would be like, I thought you died." Well, that assumption would be very wrong, Naruto would say, as he would look at Hiruzen holding the back of his head saying, "I've been doing a little bit of training." Hiruzen would be like, "Did you like abandon the village and like go train somewhere?" And Naruto would be like, it'd be easier to just show you. How about a little sparring session? What do you think about it, old man?" As Hiruzen would look at Naruto and be like, I mean, why not? He would proceed to step outside to this like area where Hiruzen trains every now and then, and immediately Hiruzen would pretty much just be standing there with his arms behind his back thinking, "All right, Naruto, I'll only use my legs." Naruto at this point would be like, "That's insulting, man. Like, come on now, you could at least do me." He would be like, "You know what, let me show this off." Immediately, Naruto would close his eyes and open them once again, as Naruto would immediately show signs of Sage Mode. Now when Hiruzen sees that, he's like, "What?" And from here, in a flash, Naruto's body would go into complete darkness. He would go into the earth using Sage style, Sage Art Shadow Jutsu, as he's using Panther Sage Mode, mind you. And he would have literally turned his body into a complete shadow, gone into the earth, and then pop right back up in front of Hiruzen, uppercutting this man, sending him flying, just like Mortal Kombat style, you know what I mean? Hiruzen at this point would get up, holding his jaw, being like, "Oh, I didn't even sense you." Naruto would be like, "Oh, but I sensed you." And from here, he would appear behind Hiruzen holding a kunai, as Hiruzen would be like, "Bro, I yield." Hiruzen at this point would be like, "What did you do?" And Naruto would say, "Oh, you know, I just went around training with every single sage creature in existence." Hiruzen would be like, "What?" And Naruto would say, "So you know how there's the legendary Sannin, like Orochimaru, there's Tsunade, Jiraiya, my father, Minato." At this point, you know, like Hiruzen would be like, "Yeah, bro, didn't you just say you were gone?" Naruto would be like, "Yeah, but my father trained in Sage Art, you know what I mean? Like Toad Sage Mode. Obviously they were gonna tell me something if you weren't." And Hiruzen at this point would be like, "Oh, well, if you know, then I guess you also know why I didn't tell you." Naruto would be like, "No, not really. I honestly think you should have told me. I don't think it would have been too bad if you would have just told the village, hey, he's the son of the fourth Hokage. Maybe then they wouldn't have treated me so bad." Hiruzen would be like, you're probably right, Naruto, but what do you do now? I mean, you're obviously strong enough to pass the academy already. Naruto would be like, yeah, but I kind of want to go back. You know what I mean? It'd feel like a mighty shame if I didn't climb through the ranks like a normal person should. As he would say, obviously I'm strong enough to be up there with the big dogs, maybe even become Hokage like I've always wanted to, but honestly, that doesn't really interest me anymore. Nowadays, I want to bring about something more important. Something like world peace. A place where nobody will ever have to feel pain. War will be non-existent with me in this world, and the stronger I get, the more that dream will become a reality. From here, Hiruzen would be like, I mean, sure thing, why not? And Naruto would immediately just kind of have a little timestamp where he would essentially appear at the door of the Genin Academy. Now, I'm just going to be aging these characters up by about 2 years because if I am right, then the academy would end when they're 12 years old, but now it's going to end when they're 14. It's not really that big of a change, but it's definitely something worth mentioning. That being said, Naruto at this point would walk into the classroom. A bunch of girls would be like, yo, who's that hottie over there? Like, hey, yo, who's that? You know what I mean? Iruka at this point would say, we're going to be joined by a new student today, everybody. Welcome him with open arms. His name is Naruto Uzumaki. As everybody would be like, Naruto? And yeah, that's how we're going to be ending the first episode of What If Naruto Had Every Sage Mode. If you guys want a part 2 to this series, then definitely make sure to go down below, comment hashtag part 2, as well as hashtag giveaway to be entered into the giveaway that I'm doing right now, which is currently just pretty much a Bakugo statue. It's really, really dope. I'll personally send it out to you, maybe even sign the box if you want. Really, honestly up to you guys. But with that said, if you enjoyed the video, definitely make sure to consider going down below, subscribing to the channel for part 2, turning on those post notifications, as well as leaving a like on this video, because there is no better thing to do for the algorithm than leaving a like on today's video. That being said, I love each and every single one of you guys. It has been your boy Zether, and I am out. Peace.